This weekend, across the pond, we saw the pageantry of an anachronistic monarchy on full display at the coronation of the new King and Queen of England. Not Queen Consort, mind you, Queen. The estimated $125 million spectacle comes at a time when the country is facing economic hardship. It even featured a big old crown for the new queen and scepter for the king that were encrusted with diamonds stolen from South Africa. And while there was much celebration in the UK, there was also a lot of blowback from the other members of the Commonwealth, a.k.a. the group of majority black nations colonized and enslaved by the British Empire, especially amid growing calls in the Caribbean to sever ties with the monarchy. 2 days ahead of Charles's crowning, a group of indigenous leaders and advocates from those countries sent a letter urging the new king to apologize and to acknowledge the horrific impacts on and legacy of genocide and colonization of the indigenous and enslaved peoples of these nations. The letter also demands the return of cultural artifacts, financial reparations, and requests that the king help communities recover from centuries of racism, oppression, colonialism, and slavery. Joining me now is Dr. Rosalia Hamilton, chair of the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance, who signed on to that letter. And thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton, for being here. Tell us why you wrote the letter. And as you do, I want you to take a look at this picture of Camilla, which I think symbolized for me the whole point of it all. There she is standing in her very heavy crown with Blackamoor statues behind her on the mantle. Your thoughts?
You know, when I see that picture of, the royalty and the crown and the jewels, I think about the pain and suffering of my ancestors. That wealth was created on the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. And so the coronation was not a time to enjoy, but to remember. And in fact, we here in Jamaica were engrossed in a conversation, deep conversation, about what it will take to move the king as head of state and to create a republic that truly reflects the interests and the will of the Jamaican people.
You know, the interesting that the Commonwealth countries are mostly in the Caribbean. It's in Kitts and Nevis, it's Antigua and Barbuda, Australia, et cetera. It's, and Jamaica, obviously, Australia being outside, and India, et cetera. But when William and Kate recently came to Jamaica, I think they got a taste of just how angry a lot of people are at them. Is there any repair in this relationship unless there is separation?
Well, yes, there can be repair with or without separation. I mean, it starts with an apology. It starts with a recognition that crimes against humanity have been committed. It starts with a process of healing and a promise not to continue the legacies that we see today in the forms of racism that persist today in England. Jamaicans in particular, other persons from the Caribbean, still struggling with a whole racist Windrush policy that was put in place. So those kinds of policies persist. And so we have to root that out. And our struggle is not just to move the king, but to remove all of the vestiges of colonial empire.
We know that Prince Harry, he did attend. Princess Meghan and their children stayed in the United States. What do you make of the irony that the royals have really isolated and really harmed the one member who, as Harry said, it was a huge opportunity to have someone who looks more like the people in the Commonwealth, and they were like, no thanks.
Absolutely. And in fact, that certainly has incensed a lot of people because it's right there in your home. Just a simple expression of love and caring was missing. And I think it did reach to the heart and soul of many Jamaicans across the Caribbean, everybody of African descent, that right there in the royal family, their capacity to manage someone of color was flawed.
And it's interesting. I mean, in the United States, of course, we do have a vice president of the United States who is a woman with Jamaican heritage. It's just sort of ironic, right, that the country that we originally sort of came from has decided to sort of treat their Commonwealth as an appendage rather than as a partner.
Yes, again, it's a long struggle. We see this road as part of the unfinished business of emancipation and colonization. And so there's a lot of repair that has to be done. We have to see ourselves as equal human beings. We advocate for the concept of Ubuntu. I am because you are because I am. We are all interconnected as human beings. And I think when
Amen.
we begin to live those principles, we can begin to coexist on terms that are mutually respectful.
Dr. Rosalia Hamilton, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Thank you.